Hey ladies, so today I have something special for you. We're changing it up. I have been going back, well not me, my amazing team has been going back and asking some of the other podcasts that I've actually been on if we could utilize that interview on Mom is in Control.
Hey ladies, welcome to Not Your Mother's podcast. This is episode 2, and we brought on Heather Chauvin from Mom is in Control. If you aren't listening to her podcast, it is life-changing, so to make sure to go check out an episode. We came across Heather's work and just fell in love with it instantly.
In her amazing TED Talk.
Oh my God.
It's like mind-blowing. It shifts the universe when you're listening to it. And we thought she would be an incredible guest for you guys to just kind of take that mom guilt and the mom do everything and the mom hold it all together weight and just really examine it and look at how much do you have to hold of that and what is yours to carry and how can you be better at really allowing yourself some grace and space around all of that.
Yeah, the interview that we had with her was just transformative. I was able to implement her actionable tips immediately, and I already feel like I've created so much space in my own life. I'm just really excited to share with you guys, and that's why we chose this to be episode 2, so you guys can get it going on. Enjoy.
We're not experts. We're moms just like you. We did the research, we read the books, we joined the clubs, and the more we learned about motherhood, the more we realized how many things aren't talked about publicly.
This podcast is for you if you're looking for answers to match your experience, you ever feel frustrated with mom life and feel like you're doing it wrong, you're looking for your mama tribe that gets you, you feel misunderstood and overwhelmed with people's opinions, or maybe you just want a better understanding of what the heck is going on.
The bottom line is you're not alone.
We also know that there's so much information on the internet and it can be overwhelming when you're searching for answers.
So we've sought some of the best experts in their field to give you actionable sound bites, insight, and support that you can immediately implement into your life. We're here to do it together. Let's get dirty and real and raw. Let's talk about it all. My name is Sonnet.
And I'm Veronica. And welcome to Not Your Mother's Podcast. Welcome back to Not Your Mother's Podcast. We have Heather Chauvin on the podcast today. She's been named the next generation's thought leader in parenting and women's leadership. Her mission is to crack open women into their deep potential and help them create the life their souls crave. Heather is the creator of the new and noteworthy podcast, The Mom is Not in Control, and has been featured on OWN, Huffington Post, TV outlets, and others. With wit and wisdom, Heather inspires a global community of women to take back control of their lives and evolve how they lead, work, play, and parent. Heather, we're so incredibly excited to have you today. Welcome.
Thank you, ladies. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom and all of the work that you've done with our audience.
So why don't you fill in the gaps of that intro and tell us a little bit more about your personal life?
Where do you want me to start? I mean, we would be here for hours and hours. It's interesting because Mom is in Control, which is the podcast and kind of the brand that I created, which I had a lot of resistance to at the beginning, kind of embodies what I was experiencing in my own personal life. But I'm a mother of 3 amazing, very uniquely different boys who are now 14, 9, and 6. And I started this journey when I was, we all start our own journeys, right? But wherever we are, but it was really, truly becoming a mother that cracked me open. And I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with anxiety. 5 years ago, I had stage 4 cancer. And I always wanted this deeper sense of purpose in my life. And it was motherhood that really gave me that bigger why, that it wasn't just about me anymore. And something clicked inside of me where I really looked at my son, who at the time I only had 1. And I thought, okay, instead of me, preaching to you about who I think you need to become, I need to become that person. I need to become the person that I desire you to be. And it wasn't just about going and getting educated, which I did as well. And I got a bachelor's in social work and I studied mental health and child development. And then I fell in love with mindfulness. And then you go down the rabbit hole of that. But it was really just saying, okay, emotionally, like, how do I become the person I want you to be emotionally? How do I find what fills me up, like my sense of purpose, so that, when you come to me and say, Mom, I'm depressed, or I'm unmotivated, or I feel like no one likes me, or which direction do I go in? I can have that life experience to gift my children the opportunities that I didn't have. So motherhood really cracked me open. And I could talk about this for hours of I always call it personal growth on steroids.
God, it's beautiful. I mean, I think we can relate to that, and we also desire that. And you listening to that calling and then going forth and taking action to be that person that can really step up into that place that you wanted to be. It's really incredible. And then how does that really kind of align with the work that you do now with your podcast and Mom is in Control?
Yeah. So to back it up, it was about 5-6 years ago. I've been doing this work for about 9 years. It started offline where I would just talk locally to parents. My son, my oldest, when he was 4, I noticed, I'm like, okay, I'm a social worker. I have a degree in mental health, and I feel like I'm failing as a mother. His anxiety and anger were out of control. And I would come home from work and just scream and yell and say, stop yelling. I'm like, I'm yelling. We've all been there. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm teaching you how to stop yelling by screaming at you. Exactly. And I thought, wow, I'm such a hypocrite. I'm like, well, how do I turn this around? So of course I turned to all the parenting books, and I'm reading them at night, and they're all near my bed. And again, not understanding how to practically transfer the information from a book to my life. I started teaching meditation to children, and that's my program. I have a program called Teach Your Kid to Meditate, because I thought this kid needs to meditate. He needs to calm down. He needs to chill out, when really I needed to do that. I think part of parenting is we're projecting our anxieties and fears and frustrations and old limiting beliefs and our stories of how we were parented onto our children, but then also realizing that I am not my child. That child is having their own human experience. But I was leading from such a fearful place in my parenting that I didn't realize that. So when I started teaching meditation and mindfulness to him, I started to oh, I need to do this. And it was beautiful because we were co-creating this consciousness together. And then parents just started asking me, his friends, and they would come over to my house, and I'd have these little circles with a whole bunch of little boys. And then the parents would knock on my door at lunchtime, be like, can you just sit with, Matthew for 30 minutes. I took him out of school, and you could see this look on her face. She was overwhelmed, and she was just like, Heather, you need to help me. And I didn't have the confidence back then. So I'm like, okay, you could do this at home. So then I started to see this disconnect of, the parents not feeling capable of guiding their children through this emotional journey, not truly understanding. And then her feeling so overwhelmed and frustrated. So I continued to start my business and start having this child-centered focus approach. And then 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer, which was a huge punch in the face and slap by the universe. But the truth was, there were signs and symptoms there previously, months in advance, but I just ignored them because I bought into the cultural expectation that is very present today, which is it's extremely selfish to do anything for yourself. And I don't have time, which is funny because I'm the complete opposite today, and I don't buy into any of that. If I see another meme of a woman with a big pot of coffee saying mommy juice, or this keeps me running, or I need to have my daily glass of wine, it's a slippery slope to a cultural epidemic that not too many people are talking about. I understand that parenting is challenging and it's going to rock you to your core, but you shouldn't cry yourself to sleep and say, why do I feel like a failure? And for many years, I felt that way. And then, just listening to women and their stories, behind closed doors of what happens. They're like, it looks great on the outside. Nobody's knocking on my door saying, do you need help? I'm the one helping everybody else. And yet I don't know how to help myself. And so that's how my message and business has evolved. And so Mom is in Control was just a calling. It was a direct reflection of what women were saying to me, which is, Heather, I want to feel in control in my life, and I don't know how to do that. And part of it is if you are running a business or you are a stay-at-home mom or CEO of whatever company, like I don't care who you are, what you do, you need to feel in control of every aspect of your life because it's all connected. So what's in your bank account is a direct reflection of your confidence and your worthiness and how you feel. And if you're not like taking care of yourself, and I know people say this, oxygen mask on first, but it's like, why did I have to get into a hospital bed with stage 4 cancer before I realized that my husband was totally capable of feeding my children dinner and doing a load of laundry? Why did I believe that I needed to do it all myself and I refused to give up control? So I always say, if you're trying to control outwardly, whether it's how clean your house is or the food that you eat or all these activities that your children are doing or trying to control other people, it's because there's something inside of you that feels out of control. And if you're constantly looking on the outside, especially in parenting, you got to look inward. And that's how you create that like ease and flow in your life.
So powerful. As a first-time mom, feeling the sense of controlling this new role and responsibility and how lost I feel and how frustrated I get and how, just everything you just said, just like totally just like cut to my heart. So I don't even know what to say. Oh my gosh. It's just so powerful.
Yeah. I was going to say, I just truly respect that you can say how lost I feel, because for a lot of us, I still feel lost in certain aspects of my life because it's new for me or I'm jumping into a new role. And motherhood is one of those things that you can't just say, oh, I'm giving up on this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a new obstacle. Like one day on Facebook, I had posted, like, would anyone like to trade a 7-month-old? And friends that have teenagers to 20-something-year-olds to toddlers were like, I'll trade you my 6-year-old. I'll trade you my 12-year-old. And it was like every age group, everyone wanted to trade. And so it just hit me like, it always is hard. And you, like you're saying, like if you need to take care of yourself because the problems and the obstacles are going to be there. But if you're not in control of yourself and take care of yourself, it's going to be challenging to take on those obstacles.
And doing your work, like you said, I mean, you just unpacked so many things for us. I feel like the table is so full of pieces I want to pick up. And part of our podcast is really talking about, what are these unsaids and these unspokens that people aren't talking about. So one of the things you said was that this idea of just overworking, there's no time for myself and have to do it all. But would there be some other areas of unspokens in your line of work that you feel you really want to share with our audience and really highlight?
Yes. So I feel like part of my purpose and my message is to talk about the unspoken, which puts me in a position for criticism and going against the grain. So as a result, I feel like a lone wolf a lot of the times, because knowing that I've had 14 years of parenting, quote unquote, experience, even though every day is a new learning opportunity, I feel I don't associate with modern motherhood. And because of that, it can be isolating being on the other side when I feel like I do have this emotional freedom, even though, my son might tell me to go F myself that day. And my little one, I'm trying to get him ready in the morning for school. And he's like, you're the worst mom ever. How do I not take that personally? I don't, because I know that they don't mean it. He's just expressing himself emotionally. And because of the atmosphere that we've created, he has that space to do that where I can become non-reactive, but I had to do the work to be non-reactive. A lot of the unsaid stuff for me is the importance of worthiness and trust. And what I see for a lot of women, we have dreams, we have desires, but how dare you put that out into the world? Because if you feel you are unworthy, you're not going to say that out loud. And when you have this sense of worth and someone tells you you're not good enough, which your children will do every single day, right? Like, this wasn't enough. You didn't give me enough Christmas presents. We didn't go on enough vacations. You didn't give me enough candy. Oh God, I could sit here all day and talk about that, right? Like, you have this constant individual in your life just challenging your core, your beliefs about who you are as a woman, as a human being. You're not around enough, mom. You work too much. Like, wow, why don't you just kick me when I'm down, right? So I have to constantly focus on my worthiness. And doing it from a place of not proving to anybody else, but saying, I am enough. I am enough. This is enough. And trusting my intuition. So I'm in the process of writing my book. And one of the things that I really wanted to be very different in the industry is all of these how-to books, how to parent the perfect child, how to raise, a confident kid, how to not screw up your kid and make sure you have to pay just as much in therapy as you do as their college or university in tuition. And part of that is trusting your intuition because, I work with a lot of people who are very challenged by their children's behavior. And I'm like, what does your child need from you? And they're like, I don't know, Heather, tell me the answer. You have the answer. I'm like, I can give you feedback, right? You can tell me what you think needs to happen. And I could say, ooh, that feels good, or ooh, that doesn't feel good. But if you are looking outside of yourself, just like we all have in our lives for validation, and you're seeking that from your child unconsciously, that's going to kick you in the butt big time. So a lot of it is you really need to trust yourself. And that's where your kids are really going to get you. And trusting, I hear this from a lot of people when it comes to food or education, even physicians. You're going to hear these people that you've put on pedestals, and they're going to tell you, I don't agree with what you want to do or how you want to parent. And you really need to get quiet with yourself and say, you know what, my child doesn't need this medication, or my child doesn't need this intervention, or I'm going to try it, but your instincts are there for a reason. And you have to take these healthcare professionals and use collaboration. So I'm a big fan of it takes a village to raise a child, but I also notice that there's this culture, this motherhood culture of all or nothing. And it's I have to do it all myself or I'm a failure. And if I ask for help, I'm lazy, or again, I'm failing. But it's not, well, I'm asking for help and now I'm expecting that other person to do the work for me. It's like asking a board of advisors for feedback and then taking that feedback and saying, what felt good? When I heard someone say, we need to do this, and you're like, yep, my gut says yes. We got to listen to ourselves. We're so disconnected from ourselves.
And so in 1 or 2 sentences, what do you want us to take away from that unspoken area of your expertise?
Trust yourself, and you need to create your tribe. You cannot do it alone. I don't care how strong and amazing you think you are. You can't do this by yourself.
So when working with your clients, what's a common obstacle that they have that you help them navigate through?
Believing that change is possible is one, because I help a lot of people who have tried a lot of different things. And they're like, Heather, how are you going to be different? I'm like, I'm going to kick your ass. I am literally going to tell you the things that other people are not willing to tell you, because I'm taking a stand for you and your child's mental health. And I'm so done with struggle. I am so done watching people struggle and waste hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to create something that they're doing from a wounded place. So oftentimes when people come to me, they feel out of control. They feel overwhelmed. They do not understand their children's behavior. So they're asking themselves, why am I yelling so much? Why won't my child listen to me? They may have a diagnosis or not. So their child might already be in a position in society where they don't fit in. And so they're trying to figure out how to get their child to fit in society and allow them to be a confident kid growing up. But the parent themselves feels like there's more out of life. They might be running the rat race and saying I don't want to do this anymore. I'm making money, I'm working or I'm not working. I can't feel the joy in my life. So I believe life and parenting can be challenging on a daily basis, but you can still feel joy and feel good while you're feeling challenged.
Awesome. So what are 1 to 3 tips that you can give our listeners to help them navigate through those hurdles?
Get uncomfortable. That's going to piss people off, and that's okay. So you have to realize you're not here to make other people happy, comfortable all the time. If we start manipulating ourselves and, contorting ourselves, it's just like having back pain, right? And then you go to the chiropractor and you're like, my back is out of alignment. If your life is out of alignment, you're going to feel the discomfort of that. So look at the areas of your life where you feel really uncomfortable and you're like, not this, and run towards it and start figuring out what can I do on a daily basis? Another tip that I highly advocate people to start is a morning routine. And for those exhausted, burnt out moms, maybe even if you have a newborn, you're saying, yeah, right, Heather, I try to get every ounce of sleep that I possibly can. Even just creating 5 minutes for yourself, whether you start with a breathing practice, journal, pen to paper, go for a walk. If the baby is in the house, like bring the baby with you. If you have a partner or someone else in your life, it's like walk down the street for 5 minutes, do something. You need to, silence is essential. Sit in your car. I don't care if you go to the grocery store and just sit in the car and cry before you go into the grocery store or after. You need to start creating space for yourself. And you need to start asking yourself, am I living my life for me or for someone else? Like, who designed my life? Did I, or is somebody else running the show?
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like it is hard to get uncomfortable, but having permission to get uncomfortable or knowing that this uncomfortableness is okay. I think we sometimes run away from that, and hearing you say that's part of it. You need to sit in that is so great to hear. And I think that's a powerful way to put it. So thank you for sharing that with our listeners and with us. I know we can use that too. Okay. So this next section, we know moms come in all different shapes and sizes and they function differently. And so we just want to kind of know a little bit more about what's made you successful and how you live your life and the decisions that you make that kind of help you get to where you are in this place. So what's the hardest decision you've had to make as a mom?
Oh God, which one? I'm wow, I've had to make a lot of hard decisions. To not medicate my children.
Wow.
That's tough. It's tough. Yeah, because your doctors are saying one thing and you have to go against that.
When I say medication, I mean for certain behaviors, but I'm not against medication. I love it. Medication saved my life. My gut just said, there's something more here and we can dive deeper. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, you need it. But that was just in my own situation, something that I felt we didn't need at that time.
I think it also may have made it easier because, with how you live your life of being the change that you want to see and becoming the person that you want others to become, I could see how you could have made that decision because you're learning the tools and applying them to your own life before, teaching them to your children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is an aha moment you've had about parenting? I mean, you've shared a lot of these, so we just kind of want to take them out and really make them clear.
I'm going to screw them up regardless. And that has been a big one. When I came to this place of acceptance of, the maternal and paternal relationships, like mom and dad relationships, right? Make a big difference on how we grow up to be adults. It doesn't matter if I'm the quote unquote perfect mother, which doesn't exist, but even if it does, that's going to screw up a child too, because then they're going to think that they could never be as awesome as their mom or dad. So I've accepted that who I am as a person will mess up my children in some form. And when I let go of that pressure and expectation on myself, I was able to be more playful and to have more joy and just be in the moment and say yeah, let's just accept it. I'm screwing you up. And I can't wait to hear how bad I
did. So is there something that you do in that moment or, when you're hit with a hard decision or when you're in that place of having to choose to let it go and be okay with that moment? Is there a practice that you have to kind of help you stay mindful like that and not react, but to react from a place of your wisdom, your internal wisdom?
Yeah. So this has been a muscle that I've had to strengthen over the years. So just if it lands with someone and they're like, well, that's hard for me, just know that this was not always easy, did not come natural. But I kind of have my filters. I think space and time is essential. So if I have to make an important decision, I make sure that I'm not being impulsive with it, because I've done that before in parenting where I'm like, yes, get this, we need to do this, and da-da-da-da. So I'll sit with the decision. I'll write it out. I'll speak it out with multiple people. My husband is great because he knows I'm emotional and he's like, women are crazy sometimes. And I'm like, yeah. But I will also speak it out with people that I respect and people that I don't necessarily respect their feedback. And so the point is I will say it to multiple sources and see what the general consensus is. So not necessarily expecting she said this, therefore I have to do it this way, but just seeing how it lands with other people and how it lands with me. So sometimes I'll ask my mother her opinion when really I don't want it. And she'll say, go left. Meanwhile, my gut is telling me to turn right. And so I'm like, okay, it's not in alignment, and that's okay. But as I'm asking other people and it's landing with me, I'm seeing what sparks my intuition, what lights me up, what's saying like, yes, do this, and what's saying like, no, don't do that. So it helps me see how my body reacts when I'm asking for multiple suggestions.
Yes, that's such a great thing to try. Remember, I love that. Maybe sometimes we do that accidentally, but to really be mindful of being like, okay, this is how I'm going to approach this situation. So what are you most excited about right now? And we want to hear about what you're working on, what's you're most excited about, and then how we can get in touch with you and how our audience can find you and learn more.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about the book that I'm writing. I've kind of stepped into this space in my message where I'm just the vessel. I'm just the leader. I've realized I've created a monster of a community where, it all started with me, just like you guys, like having a need and expressing myself to the world. And then now realizing I've created this community of women who are seeking support and seeking change. And I've been able to help a lot of people create those changes. So working on the book, also this year in 2019, I've decided that my podcast was going to be a 365-day podcast. So I'm doing a daily podcast, which is called Mom is in Control. It's on iTunes and everywhere. And that's the best.
It's so good.
Yeah, that's the best place to connect with me. And I'm really enjoying stepping outside the box with that and not doing it like a traditional podcast. And I've been having really good conversations with people, connecting with, my community on Instagram and saying, what do you want me to talk about? What are you struggling with? And then just getting their feedback and saying like, can I provide, a result for that? Whether I'm having uncomfortable conversations live on air. So there's lots of good things coming and I'm just allowing it to organically unfold.
Amazing. So the next round, it's called Mama Has a Minute, and it's meant to not be overthought. It's just short and sweet answers. Are you ready?
Perfect.
So what's your favorite form of self-care?
I love baths. That's a big one.
What is the best parent advice you've ever received?
Don't listen to me.
Share your favorite parenting hack.
Earplugs. Greatest invention ever. It helps decrease your nervous system. So when my kids are going crazy, I'm less reactive.
Recommend one baby product you cannot live without.
I don't know. I'm out of the baby phase, but I did see, okay, this sounds really gross. I was at my friend's house a few months ago. She had a newborn and there was this thing that you stick up the baby's bum to help them release a fart. It was called like a whistle.
Oh my God.
Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Okay. You stick it inside the butt a little bit, not too much, but it relieves air pressure in the baby's butt. And then that way they're not so colicky and stuff. So it like helps them fart. Isn't that weird?
That is amazing.
I know it sounds really gross, but I'm like, I did not have those when my babies were little, but it would totally help with them crying. It's like, here, I'll help you fart. Get the gas out.
Somebody gave us that for my shower. We haven't used it, but
She said it was a godsend.
Okay. So recommend one book and share why.
I really enjoyed Dr. Shefali's The Conscious Parent. It really opened my eyes. I don't find it practical, meaning like you're not going to walk away thinking like, oh, I can implement this. It's very like high level consciousness, but it really shifted my attention of like how I matter and how I think and feel about myself matters as a parent.
Okay. So finally, if you can share a parting piece of guidance and then the best way we can connect with you.
Just be you. The more you become you, the less you're trying to be like everybody else. And I think in motherhood, like the second you become a mother, all of a sudden you think you need to become this other person. And the truth is, whether you're creative or you like to write or run or sing or do yoga or like just still be you. And that is the greatest gift you'll give to your children. And you guys could just check me out on my website at Heather Chauvin. Last name spelled CHAUVIN.com. And the podcast is Mom is in Control, which you can find anywhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Thanks, ladies.